that's the kind of thing you have to try and figure out. Should you multiply the fraction? So should you distribute the fraction, or should you try and get rid of it first? So you say distribute. What do you guys think? You can go either way, honestly.
Get rid of it? I don't know.
You want to get Ilse wants to get rid of it. Marian wants to distribute it.
Miss, I say get rid of it.
You say get rid of it? Okay, you broke the tie, so we're going to get rid of it. But like I said, you could have done it either way. So Marian, if you wanted to do it your way, you'll probably get the same answer if you do everything correctly. So let's get rid of it. I always like to get rid of it first because I hate fractions. What am I going to want to do in order to get rid of the fraction?
Multiply
by 2
times.
As denominator.
Good. I heard like 3 people say the same thing. So we're going to multiply by the denominator, which is 2. And here's the tricky part. When you do that on the right side, so I'm going to multiply it on the left and the right. But when you do it on the right side, there's some numbers who you are going to do it to, and there's some that you don't do it to. Which ones do I avoid?
New variables.
Which ones? There's something going on here.
Inside the parentheses?
Exactly. Remember what I've said before, we haven't seen a problem like this, but the same thing still applies. If you see parentheses, it's kind of like whatever's inside of them is being protected, okay? It's like a little house. So they're being protected, so they're not going to get multiplied. Only the 4 and the 9 get multiplied because they're outside. So whoever's in the house, they're safe. Everyone else, though, they're going to get multiplied. So let's go ahead and do it. On my left side, my fraction cancels out. So I'm just left with x plus 18. And like I said, we're only doing 2 times 4, which is 8. Everything inside stays the same. And then I'm doing 2 times negative 9x, which is negative 18x. So that was the tricky part. If you didn't know that, and then if you went and you multiplied 2 times everything, that would have been incorrect. So if you did it this way, you would get the right answer in the end. And if you want to go from here on your own, try it on your own. But we'll go slowly. Okay, I got rid of my fraction. Now what do I have to do?
Take out the parentheses of the.
Exactly. Now I take out my parentheses using my distributive property. So I go in and I'm going to multiply. 8 times 2 gives me 16x. I bring down my minus sign. 8 times 6 is 48. And I bring down my 18x. Okay, all good with that. But now I've got a lot of variables all over the place. So what should I do first?
Add the common.
Yeah, like terms, combine like terms. Nice job. So we got to combine, because you always got to clean your house before you invite someone over. We got to clean it up, make it look a little bit more simplified. Here you have to be careful though, because you have 16 and 18, but are we adding them or are we subtracting them?
Subtracting.
Good. Remember that the 18, that symbol comes with, that minus sign belongs to the 18. So we're subtracting. 16 minus 18 gives me?
2.
Is it going to be a positive or a negative?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Negative 2x. Bring down my minus 48. All right. And now we're almost there, but we still have variables on both sides. So I need to do what?
Divide by negative 2x.
Careful. I'm not going to want to divide.
I'm going to want to multiply.
Also not multiply. Be careful.
And subtract.
Add. Ascanio, you're going to go through all of the options before you get to the right one. We're going to add. So this is the tricky part. Remember that when you're moving something to the opposite side, you're not going to just divide and multiply. You're going to add or subtract. And since I have a minus sign, that's how I know I need to do the opposite of minus, which is plus. So I'm going to add 2x. This was like for some reason, that step confuses a lot of people. So make sure you understand that step 4, we're using the addition property. Okay, we're almost there. It's gonna be like 6 steps by the time we're done. I'm gonna add x and 2x. What's that gonna give me?
3x.
3x. And then bring down your negative 48. I'm running out of room, so I'm gonna make everything a little smaller. But now I'm down to my last 2 steps. So if you didn't do this problem yet, go from here. Finish it out on your own. Do your 2-step equation on your own. And you can send me your answer if you get it.
Miss Lopez, you wrote 4 2 times.
I wrote 4 2 times. Thank you. I'm a math teacher, but sometimes I can't count. Okay. There we go. I'm seeing some correct answers. I'll let you know if you got it right or not.
Miss, by the way, is that already thingy going in the grade?
Yeah. It's going in the gradebook under research, not algebra. So period 8. All right. So I see a few correct answers. Good. Let's go through it. So this next step, it's a little bit tricky because you have negatives. So this is where you got to be very, very careful. Since I have a, what is this? A plus 18, I'm going to want to subtract. So here, I say I'm going to do minus 18, right? But this is where you have to be very careful because you started at negative 48, and then you're subtracting from negative 48. So since you're subtracting, it's going to become even more negative. So what is my answer when I do negative 48 minus 18?
Negative 66.
Negative 66, exactly. If you got negative 50 or positive 50, you went the wrong way. Or not 50, 30. If you got negative 30 or positive 30, you went the wrong way. So would anyone like me to clarify in this part how I got negative 66? Because I know a few people, if your final answer was
Darian.
10. Okay, Darian. Okay, so when you start at negative, like what I'm doing here is negative 48 minus 18, right? So I'm subtracting. If I start at negative 48 and I subtract, I'm going
number line.
Like on a number line, exactly. You're going further down. Sometimes I like to think about it like an elevator. If you're on floor negative 48 and you're subtracting, you're going to go even further down underground. So you're going to get even more negative.
Or if you could, like, the bigger number is like whatever sign that is, then it's the answer.
The bigger number, wait, say that again?
Like the bigger number, if it's a negative sign, then the answer is going to be a negative. But if it's a positive, that's going to be a positive.
That's a really good way to think about it too. If you're confused about if your final answer is going to be negative or if it's going to be positive, look at the bigger number. Since the 48 is negative, you know you're going to still be negative when you have your answer. That's a good way to think about it. Nice job. I had never thought of it that way. So this was my subtraction property. And then if you got negative 66, then you probably got the right answer because the last step is pretty easy. We're just going to divide everything by 3. So I get as my final answer, x equals, is it going to be a positive or is it going to be a negative?
Negative.
Oh, negative, right?
Negative 22. Since I have a negative, since I have a negative divided by a positive. So if you got it right, awesome. This was definitely a challenging problem because there were 6 whole steps. Like that's a lot. That's a lot, definitely. So if you got it all the way through, awesome job. Do I have any final questions on this? All right. Okay, so what we're going to do today is, this is research. I know I wrote algebra at the top, but this is technically research, period 8. So like I said at the beginning of the year, research is a little bit more like you guys get to work on your own a little bit. I might have you guys do it in groups a little bit too. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do one more challenge problem together. And this is going to be like one of the hardest problems ever. And then I'm going to put you guys in groups so that you can try some in groups or on your own. So we'll do some challenge problems, and hopefully by the end of the day, you'll feel a lot better about equations than you did at the beginning. So let's do one more challenge. This one's like, if this came up on your test, I would be like, damn, those test writers, like they're trying to do the most right now because this is a lot. Like I promise, this is the hardest one you would ever see. But I just want to show you guys that even though it looks challenging, we can do it. We're going to make it work, okay? So what do we see? What's an issue?
We see a difficult problem.
We see a difficult problem. What's in there though?
What's with all the fractions?
Hello, fraction.
Fractions,
Hella fractions.
parentheses, variables.
Miss, I'm confused.
You haven't even done it yet and you're confused already?
Yes, Miss.
Why?
I'm gonna do 3, the 2 over 3. Don't we have to multiply with everything? But there's a 5 and there's another 3.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of like Ascania said, there's hella fractions. So we got to figure this out, okay?
This is like me.
But don't worry, we got this. This is fine. We can handle it. I promise. Always go back to the rules. How do I get rid of fractions?
Oh, we're taking out fractions first, right? Because this is a different thing.
We're always going to want to take fractions out first.
Would you do least common multiple?
Yeah, exactly. So when you see fractions, don't go crazy and start trying to distribute this fraction because then you're going to have to multiply it by another fraction and then you're just going to make life really hard for yourself. Don't do that. That's not the easy way. That's the hard way. The easy way is to get rid of your fractions right away.
Miss, I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, go quick.
Okay, Miss.
How do I get rid of my fractions? Somebody already said it. What do I need to do?
Multiply.
Least common multiple.
Multiply by the least common multiple. Okay? That's always how you're going to do it. Like, even though you have a lot of fractions, we're still doing the same thing. We're going to multiply by the LCM. But the question is, I have 4 fractions, right? That's a lot of fractions. So should I get rid of the ones on the outside first or the ones on the inside first?
Outside.
Outside, exactly. Because remember, the stuff on the inside is kind of in its own little bubble. It's protected. So we're going to get rid of the outside. So I'm looking for the LCM of what 2 numbers?
15.
Of 3 and 5, which is, like Ascania just said, 15. So I'm multiplying by 15. step 1. Now, when I do that, does it affect the stuff on the inside or only the outside?
Outside.
Only the
Right.
outside. It does not touch the
I know.
inside because they're in their little bubbles, okay? So I'm just going to multiply 15 times 2 over 3. Let me make my line. Okay. 15 times 2 over 3. Who can explain how to do that?
What?
I'm doing 15 times 2/3. Who can explain how to do that?
15 over 1.
15. So I could, yep, there's two ways. I could either make it a fraction and then multiply across, which would give me 30 over 3. And then what do I get as my answer?
10.
10.
10. The other way to do that is to multiply by the top and then divide by the bottom. So I could do 15 times 2, which is 30, and then divide it by 3, which is 10. You get the same thing.
Why don't you just not multiply nothing on the bottom? That's how I do it.
That's how you do it. That's another way. You're doing the same thing. It's just a different way to visualize it. Okay, we did the left. Now let's do the right. Same thing. Now I'm doing 15 times 1/5. What do I get?
3.
3. So I have 3 times 4/3 x minus 1. Okay, we got rid of half of the fractions, but we still have 2 more. The problem, though, is that they're on the inside, and we can't really do anything with them until we get rid of our parentheses. So we have to do that next. How do I get rid of my parentheses?
Distribute.
Multiply 3 by
Mm-hmm.
Miss,
Because
how is it 15 if there's a 4 too?
because we're only getting rid of we only got rid of the outside fractions. So we're not doing the inside fractions yet, just the outside.
Okay, Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Miss, but where did
Oh,
you
you
get
multiply
the
10 by a fraction? I got a question.
Wait, hold up. Ascanio, let me get to you next because I think someone needed a clarification question. Someone, I didn't see
Miss,
who
I
it was.
said, how did you get the 10 and the 3?
How did I get the 10 and the 3? Okay, so going back, if you're good up to here, you can try the next part on your own. But let me go back. I got 10 because I did 15 times 2/3. The way you do that is you do 15 times 2, which is the numerator. What do you get? 15 times 2?
10.
15 times 2?
30.
Was
8,
30.
Miss.
And then you divide that by the denominator. So 30 divided by 3 gave me 10. That's how I got 10. And then we did the same thing on the right side. I did 15 times 1, which is 15. And then that divided by 5 gave me 3. We're just multiplying a whole number times the fraction. Any other questions on that?
No, that's okay.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. Step 2, like I said, now we need to distribute. Okay. Now, on the left side, I think, Ascanio, you were saying we're going to have to multiply it by a fraction, right? And that's
My
going to end up...
question is, we're going to multiply them by the denominator, the numerator, or by both?
Okay. So when you multiply it, you multiply it by the numerator. And then we're going to divide it by the denominator. So in this case, I have to do 10 times 1/4. If I do 10 times 1/4, am I going to get a whole number or a fraction?
Fraction.
It's going to be a fraction. So I'm going to leave it as a fraction. 10 over 1/4 is the same as 10 over 4. Because all I did was I multiplied 10 times 1, which gave me 10. But I'm not going to do the second step, which is to divide it by 4, because otherwise it's going to give me a decimal. I don't want a decimal. I want to keep it as a fraction. So 10 times 1/4 is the same as 10/4. 10 times 2, that's easy, is 20. Same thing over here on the right. Now I have to do 3 times 4/3. So 3 times 4 gives me what?
12.
12. And then 12 over 3 gives me?
4.
4.
So in this case, I got a nice whole number, so I'm good. And then finally, 3 times 1, that's 3. So we went from having 4 fractions to having 2 fractions. Now we're down to 1 fraction. This is great. I can finally get rid of it. What can I do?
Multiply by 4 on both sides.
Perfect. And when I multiply by 4 on both sides, this is number 3. When I multiply by 4 on both sides, I'm going to multiply. Do I see any parentheses here?
No, we're gonna multiply it on all the numbers.
Exactly. No parentheses, so I can do it to everything. 4 times everything. So let's go through. 4 times 10 over 4. What do I get? Yep, just 10. Because 40 divided by 4, that's 10. You can also think about it like it just crosses out the denominator.
Wait, what? Why did you say 40?
Because I did in my head, I did 10 times 4. I multiplied by the numerator and got 40. You divide by the denominator, you get 10.
Oh,
Then 4 times 20. That's 80. 4 times 4, 16. 4 times 3, 12. Everything got multiplied by 4. I want everyone to try now to go from here and finish it. So this is now, you should have 3 more steps left. Go ahead, send me your answer in the chat when you get it.
Miss, I'll be right back.
Okay, go ahead. You already got your answer. You're good. Okay, I'm getting some answers that are decimals. Remember that I always want to see your final answer as an improper fraction. So if you sent me a decimal, go back and send it back as an improper fraction. Alrighty, got a couple correct answers. Let me see if I can get one more, and then I'll go over it.
Miss, you want to see my puppy?
Can you show it at the end? Or he's right there.
Never mind, it ran away.
Okay. Alrighty. So I have, okay, good. I got one more correct answer. So here we go. Step 4. Who can tell me what to do with step 4?
The variable.
Which
to the
one?
other side. The
Good.
16.
16 has to move to the left. How do I get him to the left?
Subtract 16?
Good. And I'm putting the 16x under the 10x because they have to line up, they have to match. All right. 10 minus 16 gives me what?
6.
-6.
-6. Thank you, Darian. Negative. Make sure you got a negative because otherwise you would get the wrong answer. If I start with 10 and I take away 16, I'm definitely going to end up in a negative. All right, so that was step 4, subtraction property. What's step 5?
Add plus 12.
Plus 12. We're not going to add the 12 because the 12 is already where it needs to be. But which number needs to move?
Add 80.
80.
There you go.
Subtract by 80.
Addition property.
Add.
We're going to add by 80 because it is negative. So we're doing the opposite, which is positive. All right. So I have -6x equals, here's the hard part, -12 plus 80. Am I going to stay negative
78.
or is it going to turn? Yeah,
Positive.
positive 78. That one's a little bit trickier because you start negative, you go up, you end up positive.
Oh, it's because I had the right thing.
Wait,
to say.
78 or 68?
78 or it should be 68, my bad. 68.
You got me thinking I was wrong.
68, all right? And then the final step, I'm not gonna write it because I'm out of room, but what am I doing?
Rewriting it?
Divide by 6.
Exactly, dividing by not just 6,
Negative.
-6. All right, so when I divide by -6, I'll write my final answer on the left. I get x equals 68 over -6, but I can simplify that. So when I simplify, what can I get?
34 over -3.
34 over -3, exactly. And since it's a fraction, when you have a negative in a fraction, it could either go on top, underneath, or outside. So I'm going to keep it outside. So -34 over 3. There we go. That was it. So another 6-step problem. These two, the one we did in the bell ringer and this one, are like the longest. This is as long as it's going to get. It's definitely not easy, but once we got to step like 3, you guys, you knew what you were doing. So sometimes when it starts off super hard, you just have to think, what would Miss Lopez do? What would she do first? How can I get rid of my fractions? How can I get rid of my variables? What can I do to make everything more simple? Okay, so with this type of problem, just make sure that at least, even if you didn't know how to do it from the beginning, make sure you know what I did in each step. And if you have any questions about where I got any of those numbers from, you can ask them now.
Miss, where'd you get the 4 from?
The 4, which one?
The one that you added on the 10 over 4x minus 20.
Okay, so the when we're multiplying by 4, the reason I'm multiplying by 4 is because before I did that, all I had was this, right? Before I did it, I had a fraction, 10 over 4, which I want to get rid of because I don't like fractions. So anytime I see a fraction, I have to multiply by the denominator. So that's what I was doing here. I multiplied by the denominator on both sides in order to get rid of my fraction.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. All right, so we're gonna do things a little bit differently today, like I said, because we're in research class. So I'm gonna put you guys into breakout rooms. There are, how many of you? There are 25, perfect. So I'll probably put you guys into groups of 5, and it's gonna be random, so you don't know who you're gonna end up with, but I'm gonna have you guys do 6 problems. And when you're working on them, you can work on them on your own, but I want you to compare your answers with everybody else in your group and see if you got a different answer, see if you can figure out what went wrong. So can I have...
Participate?
Yeah, I want to see you participating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come through to each room and see what's going on and see if you guys need any help. But I want to see you guys talking to each other. I know it's kind of weird because we're like all in our own homes, but I want to see if you guys can like get to know each other a little bit better. So, like I said, it's going to be completely random. I'm not controlling who gets to go where. The computer controls it. So I know if some of you guys want to be with your friends, I can't really do that. What I want to do right now is